the screech of tires. A sudden, heart-stopping crash. Shouts and screams cut through the morning air. Glass shatters, metal twists, and the world seems to freeze in that terrifying instant. Lives hang in the balance, all because a simple prayer was forgotten. But this isn't just a story about an accident. It's the story of Kofi, a high school student whose ordinary walk to school would soon become a test of faith, love, and survival. The city was waking up. Early morning light spilled over the rooftops, painting the busy streets with a warm, golden hue. The usual sounds filled the air, neighbors greeting each other, buses starting their routes, and students hurrying to school. In a modest home, nestled among the bustling buildings, Kofi was preparing for another day at school. His uniform was crisp and neatly ironed, his backpack packed with care, filled with books and notes. But beneath his calm exterior, a flutter of nervous excitement stirred in his chest. Today was different. Kofi wasn't just thinking about his classes or exams. His heart was caught on a secret hope, the chance to finally speak to Amara, the girl whose smile had quietly captured his attention for months. He imagined her laughter lighting up the classroom and the kindness in her eyes. In the next room, his mother moved with quiet care, preparing breakfast and checking the family's things. Her face was calm but lined with concern. "Kofi, my son," she said softly, "before you leave, please remember to pray. Ask for protection on your journey. The world can be uncertain." Her voice carried the weight of love and worry. Kofi's mother believed deeply in the power of prayer, a shield against the unknown dangers that might lie ahead. From the doorway, his father shook his head with a gentle smile, folding his arms. "Prayer won't change the road, and God already knows where you're going," he said, steady but skeptical. "Just be careful, and you'll be fine." The difference in their beliefs hung in the air like an invisible thread pulling at Kofi's heart. He wanted to honor his mother's wishes, yet he also felt the easy confidence of his father's words. Adjusting his backpack, Kofi glanced out the window and spotted groups of students gathering at the street corner, laughing and chatting about the new term. Somewhere among them was Amara. Today, he hoped to find the courage to say more than just hello. But little did he know, this simple journey, a walk to school like any other, would soon become a path filled with unseen dangers. The day ahead would hold more than lessons and young love. It would test Kofi's faith, courage, and the power of prayer. The morning bell rang sharply across the school compound, signaling the start of another day filled with lessons, laughter, and hopes. Kofi stood just outside the gate, the familiar noise of his classmates buzzing around him, but his mind was elsewhere, caught entirely by a single figure in the crowd. Amara. She was seated on the edge of the school garden, sunlight weaving through the branches above her, casting dancing shadows on her smiling face. The way her eyes sparkled when she talked with her friends made Kofi's heart race every time he caught a glimpse. He had admired her from afar for months, but today something felt different. The quiet courage growing inside him told him that maybe, just maybe, this was the day he would speak to her. Walking to his first class, Kofi felt the butterflies flutter wildly in his stomach. Each step was heavier, his palms sweaty despite the cool morning air. His friends noticed his distracted gaze and whispered among themselves, nudging each other with knowing smiles. "Look at Kofi, daydreaming again. That girl's got him wrapped around her finger." One joked loudly, causing a ripple of laughter to follow. Kofi tried to laugh it off, but the teasing made his cheeks burn. Despite their jokes, he found comfort in their presence, the friends who made the school feel a little less daunting and the days a bit lighter. As the hours passed, small moments of connection slowly blossomed. During biology, Amara noticed Kofi struggling to find a pen and quietly slid one across the desk to him. Their fingers brushed for a fleeting second, sending an unexpected jolt through Kofi's entire body. He managed a shy smile, grateful and hopeful. At lunchtime, Kofi found himself sitting near her bench, their conversations starting as shy exchanges about homework and favorite subjects, but quickly deepening into shared stories about their families, dreams, and the challenges of high school life. In the weeks that followed, Kofi and Amara's friendship grew, with the gentle certainty of a blooming flower. They passed notes during class and carefully folded little messages that expressed more than words could say. One note read, "You're braver than you know," and Kofi kept it tucked safely inside his notebook, rereading it on difficult days. Yet, amidst the sweetness, the realities of life lingered. Their friends teased them endlessly, Kofi and Amara, the new power couple. And Kofi would blush furiously, often mumbling a quick excuse to escape the spotlight. Back at home, the weight of family was ever present. Kofi's mother was a quiet pillar of strength, her eyes full of hope and faith as she prepared breakfast or tidied up the house. One evening, she found Kofi sitting on the veranda, lost in thought. Sitting beside him, she placed a gentle hand on his shoulder and spoke softly. "My son, life will bring you many joys and challenges. But remember, no matter what, pray for guidance and protection. Prayer is a light in the darkest times." Kofi nodded, the warmth of her words wrapping around him like a comforting blanket. His father, however, was a different story. He was practical and skeptical, believing firmly in hard work and caution rather than prayers. "God knows where you're going. It's your steps that matter," he would say, folding his arms and shaking his head at his wife's gentle faith. This clash of beliefs often left Kofi torn. He admired his father's strength and logic, but felt the deep truth in his mother's unwavering faith. Balancing both worlds was a quiet struggle. One evening, after a particularly long day at school, Kofi found himself walking home with Amara. The sun was setting, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink. They talked about their futures, dreams of college, and the small hopes that kept them going. Amara laughed softly at one of Kofi's jokes, and in that moment, Kofi felt a swell of happiness so pure, it felt like the world itself was holding its breath. But even in this happiness, a shadow lingered. There were whispers at school, envy from those who wished to see their joy undone. Someone who watched from the sidelines, bitter and restless. The path ahead was not just about young love. It was about facing the trials that would test their courage, faith, and the power of prayer. As Kofi prepared for each day, carrying the hope of love in his heart and the weight of his family's prayers on his shoulders, he had no idea how soon that faith would be called upon. As the days passed, the school grounds seemed to hum with a different energy, a quiet, unsettled feeling that even the most carefree students couldn't ignore. It was during one particularly humid afternoon that the entire school was called to the auditorium for a special assembly. The air was thick with anticipation as Elder Mensa, a man known for his wisdom and deep respect in the community, stepped onto the stage. His face was weathered by time, but his eyes sparkled with a fierce light. He spoke slowly and deliberately, every word weighted with meaning. "Children," he began, his voice echoing through the silent hall, "the roads you travel daily are not just paths paved with concrete and dust. They are threads woven with unseen forces. Some forces protect, while others seek to harm. You must guard yourselves, not just with caution, but with prayer." A hush fell over the students. Kofi felt the words settle heavily in his chest. Elder Mensa's gaze seemed to sweep across the room, lingering for a heartbeat on Kofi and Amara seated together at the front. Was it just his imagination, or did those eyes carry a warning meant especially for them? Outside the auditorium, whispers began to swirl. The budding relationship between Kofi and Amara was no secret anymore. Their exchanged smiles, the way they quietly helped each other in class, and the notes they passed in between lessons had not gone unnoticed. But not all eyes watched with kindness. Some harbored envy, bitter, sharp, and dangerous. Among the students was Tay, a boy who had long admired Amara from afar. The news of Kofi's closeness to her stirred a jealous fire inside him. Quiet glances and cold shoulders followed Kofi wherever he went. Tay's friends whispered darkly about how love sometimes invited trouble, and some even hinted at curses and jealousy that could ripple through their lives like poison. One afternoon, beneath the sprawling shade of the old acacia tree near the school gates, Kofi sat surrounded by his closest friends. The conversation drifted toward Elder Mensa's warning. "Do you honestly believe all this prayer stuff will keep us safe?" challenged Kojo, his tone dismissive as he kicked at a small rock. Kofi's brow furrowed. "My mother says it's real. That prayer protects you from dangers you can't see." His friend Didi snorted softly. "But you've never seen anyone saved by prayer, have you? I've seen accidents, fights, bad things happen even to the best prayers." The debate grew heated. Kofi found himself caught between his mother's steadfast faith and the skeptical voices around him. "I don't know what to believe sometimes," he admitted quietly, looking down at his hands. "But maybe some things aren't just about what we see." Later that evening, as dusk settled over the neighborhood, Kofi walked home alone along a familiar path. The streetlights flickered weakly, casting long shadows that danced eerily against the walls. His footsteps echoed in the quiet. Suddenly, out of the corner of his eye, he saw movement, a shadow slipping between the alleyways. He stopped, heart pounding, and glanced toward the darkened passage. A figure stood still, watching him with eyes that seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. Kofi's breath hitched. He hurried past, the hairs on the back of his neck standing on end. At school, the tension grew. Rumors spread like wildfire. Stories of students narrowly escaping accidents, strange mishaps occurring on the routes to and from school, and warnings whispered about ignoring prayer. Some students spoke of curses placed by those who envied their happiness or success. Signs seemed to multiply. A bus broke down, mysteriously just outside the school gates. Branches lay broken on the path where no storm had passed. Animals that usually filled the courtyard with noise suddenly fell silent, as if sensing an unseen threat. Kofi and Amara tried to focus on their lessons and their growing friendship, but the weight of unease pressed down on them. They noticed the sideways glances, the whispered warnings, and the subtle changes in the air, a chill that wasn't caused by the weather, and shadows that seemed to linger longer than they should. Every day, the unseen storm edged closer. And yet, in the face of growing danger and jealousy, Kofi clung to his mother's words, that prayer was a shield, a light against the darkness. But would that faith be enough when the moment of truth arrived? The morning sun cast a warm glow over the city as Kofi stood at the corner of the street, waiting with a nervous excitement that made his heart race. Today was special. He and Amara had decided to travel to school together. The idea of walking beside her, sharing stories and laughter, filled him with a joy he could barely contain. When Amara arrived, her bright smile lit up the morning even more. "Ready for the big walk?" she asked, teasing lightly. Kofi grinned, trying to hide how much her presence calmed his nerves. Together, they stepped onto the dusty road, their footsteps falling softly on the pavement as they walked side by side. They talked about everything: their favorite songs, the latest school gossip, and dreams for the future. The air between them was light, filled with the sweet promise of young love blossoming amidst the routine of school life. At the bus stop, they joined a small crowd of students waiting for the morning bus. The chatter was lively, and Kofi found himself stealing glances at Amara as she laughed with her friends. Their hands brushed briefly as they found seats next to each other, and a shy smile passed between them. Back at home, Kofi's mother knelt by the window, her voice steady and full of hope as she prayed silently for her son and Amara. Lord, keep them safe on their journey. Protect their hearts and guide their steps. Meanwhile, his father watched from the doorway, arms crossed and brow furrowed. Prayers won't stop accidents, he muttered, more to himself than anyone else. It's the road they walk that matters. As the bus rumbled away from the stop, carrying the young students toward their school, shadows moved quietly at the edge of the street. Figures cloaked in darkness watched from a distance, their eyes fixed on Kofi and Amara. Unseen and silent, they waited, their intentions hidden but ominous. Despite the laughter and lightness between Kofi and Amara, an invisible tension wove through the morning air, a warning that not all journeys end safely, and that faith might be the only thing standing between hope and harm. The bus rumbled steadily down the familiar streets, the chatter of students filling the air with light-hearted jokes and hopeful plans for the day. Kofi and Amara sat close together, sharing whispered conversations and stolen glances. But beneath the laughter, a quiet unease began to creep in. Suddenly, the bus jolted sharply, coming to an unexpected halt in the middle of the road. Confused murmurs spread among the passengers as the driver climbed down to inspect the engine. "There's a problem," he announced grimly. "We'll be delayed." Kofi's heart sank. He exchanged a worried look with Amara. "Do you think we'll be late?" she whispered, trying to sound brave. "I hope not," Kofi replied, though his voice betrayed his concern. The warm morning now felt heavy, as if the very air was pressing down on them. As the minutes stretched into what felt like hours, more signs of trouble surfaced. The bus wobbled oddly, a strange grinding noise coming from the wheels. On the road ahead, a fallen tree blocked one lane, forcing traffic into a slow crawl. Passengers shifted nervously, some muttering prayers under their breath. At home, Kofi's mother paced anxiously, clutching a small rosary. "Please, Lord, protect my son and Amara," she prayed fervently. "Guide them safely through every obstacle." His father, sitting stiffly in his chair, shook his head in quiet frustration. "All this worry and praying won't change what's meant to happen," he said with a sigh. Back on the bus, Kofi's friends tried to lighten the mood, joking about their misfortune, but the tension was palpable. Kofi and Amara held hands, drawing strength from each other. Meanwhile, hidden in the shadows, Tay, the boy who had watched Kofi and Amara with jealousy, watched their struggle with cold satisfaction. His whispered plans had been set in motion, and every delay, every mishap, was part of a larger design meant to unsettle them, to test the strength of their bond. As the bus finally started moving again, the sense of foreboding grew heavier. The road ahead was uncertain, and the dangers were closer than anyone dared imagine. The bus moved slowly at first, its tires grinding against the uneven road as it navigated the winding streets leading to the school. Kofi sat beside Amara, their fingers entwined nervously. They exchanged quiet smiles and hopeful glances, the small comfort of each other's presence a shield against the uneasy feeling that had settled over the morning. Suddenly, the steady rhythm of the ride shattered. The driver's hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, his face contorted with alarm. "The brakes! They're not responding," he shouted, his voice sharp and panicked. The bus lurched forward uncontrollably. Kofi's heart slammed against his ribs like a wild drum. The vehicle swayed wildly, crossing into the opposite lane, narrowly missing oncoming traffic. Screams erupted like a sudden storm, filling the confined space with raw terror. Around them, students clung desperately to seats and each other, their faces pale and eyes wide with fear. Kofi's breath caught in his throat as he tightened his grip on Amara's hand, feeling her trembling beside him. "Hold on," he whispered, trying to sound steady even as his own voice quivered. The bus careened down the road, the driver struggling to regain control. The metal frame groaned under the strain, glass windows rattling violently. Time seemed to slow as the looming shadow of a large tree appeared ahead. The impact was inevitable. With a deafening crash, the bus collided with the tree, the front crumpling like paper. The force threw students forward, the air filled with the sickening sound of twisting metal and breaking glass. Shouts turned to cries. The chaos was deafening. Kofi's world spun. Pain exploded through his side as he was thrown against the seatbelt. His head hit the window, and stars danced before his eyes. But through the haze of pain and confusion, one thought anchored him: Amara. He turned, searching through the dust and noise. There she was, shaken but conscious, her eyes meeting his with a mixture of fear and hope. He reached out, grasping her hand tightly. "I'm here," he said, his voice barely a whisper. Amara nodded, tears streaming down her face. Together, they closed their eyes, letting the noise fade as they prayed. "Lord, protect us," Kofi whispered. "Keep us safe. Help us through this." Amara joined softly. "Guide us, strengthen us." Around them, others were crying out, some in pain, some calling for help, others lost in shock. But in that shared moment of prayer, a calm settled over Kofi and Amara, a fragile light in the darkness. Minutes stretched like hours before rescue teams arrived, cutting through the wreckage and carrying the injured to safety. Kofi and Amara were among the fortunate, battered, bruised, but alive. As they were lifted from the wreck, Kofi's heart swelled with gratitude. The accident was a harsh reminder of life's fragility and the power of faith in facing the unknown. The sterile white walls of the hospital room were a stark contrast to the chaos of the accident. Machines beeped softly, and the faint scent of antiseptic hung in the air as Kofi slowly opened his eyes. The pain in his body was sharp, but deeper than that was a feeling of overwhelming gratitude. He was alive. By his bedside, Amara sat quietly, her hand wrapped gently around his. Her eyes were tired but filled with unwavering support and love. "You're strong, Kofi," she whispered, her voice steady. "We're going to get through this, together." Kofi's mother stood nearby, her face etched with worry and relief. She held a small rosary, silently praying with every breath. His father, once skeptical, now sat solemnly, his hands clasped tightly as he wrestled with a newfound humility. The days that followed were slow and painful, but Kofi's spirit grew stronger with each visit, each prayer, and each encouraging word from those around him. The accident had shaken him to his core, but it also opened his heart to a deeper faith, one he had never fully embraced before. One afternoon, as sunlight filtered softly through the window, Kofi took Amara's hand and spoke quietly. "I never realized how much prayer means until now. It's more than words. It's strength, hope, and protection." Amara smiled, squeezing his hand. "And I'll be here with you every step of the way." Meanwhile, news of the accident and Kofi's miraculous survival spread through the community. Those who had envied the young couple, like Tay, were forced to confront the consequences of jealousy and bitterness. Regret settled heavily on their hearts as they saw the power of faith and love overcome darkness. At school, teachers and elders gathered students to reflect on the lessons learned, the importance of prayer, the strength found in unity, and the fragile beauty of life. Kofi's journey was no longer just about school or young love. It was a testament to resilience, the power of faith, and the light that prayer can shine even in the darkest moments. As Kofi's journey draws to a close, there is a lesson that echoes clearly through every moment of his story. Never underestimate the power of prayer and faith, especially when you are about to travel. The roads we walk are often filled with unseen dangers, unexpected trials, and moments that test not only our strength, but also our spirit. Prayer is more than just words whispered into the quiet. It is a powerful shield, a source of comfort, and a guiding light that helps us face the unknown with courage and hope. When we pray before travel, we open ourselves to the protection that goes beyond the physical, a spiritual safeguard that surrounds us, even when the path seems uncertain. To every student preparing to journey to school, and to all travelers on life's roads, take a moment to pause each day. Close your eyes, fold your hands, and ask for guidance and safety. Trust in the strength that faith can bring, and know that you are not alone, no matter the challenges ahead. Love, too, is part of this journey, a light that brightens even the darkest moments. Kofi and Amara's story reminds us that with faith and love combined, we can overcome jealousy, danger, and fear. Their bond was tested, but it endured, showing us that hope and belief have the power to heal and protect. As you go forward, carry this truth in your heart. Your safety and peace begin with the simple act of prayer and the strength of your faith. Let it be a daily habit, a source of courage, and a reminder that you are watched over. If this story has touched your heart or inspired you in any way, please take a moment to like this video, share it with your friends and family, and most importantly, subscribe to Timeless Epic Folktales for more stories that uplift, inspire, and protect. Your support helps us bring more powerful tales into the world, stories that remind us all of the strength found in faith and the power of prayer. We would also love to hear from you. Share your own experiences with prayer, journeys, or overcoming challenges in the comments below. Your story might just inspire someone else on their path. Thank you for watching, and may your travels always be safe, your heart always be hopeful, and your spirit always be strong. Stay blessed and keep the faith.